Alrighty, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video, another day, another dollar. We're gonna be breaking down our futures contract per usual, kind of review what has happened the last 2 days. Look at the larger picture on the monthly, weekly, daily time frames to start out. Then we'll look at our 30-minute time frame, kind of update you guys on some destinations there, and then we'll get kind of touch on a trade that I took. I think was a very good trade, but didn't quite capitalize on it how I should have. And then we'll kind of discuss my swing trade that I'm currently in on my paper account. I posted a video on that, I believe Thursday. So this will be a little bit of an update as I am, or I was a lot more than 100 points in the money on that, but now I'm about 100, just about 103 points in the money on that trade from where I took that long. So very positive trade outlook on that, and we'll go ahead and dive right into the monthly. Let's go ahead and look at that. Let's look at the monthly real quick. Monthly, as we're closing out, getting ready to close out the month of February. Man, is it flying by. As we get ready to close out the month of February, we are looking very, very, very positive. Very positive. Been one time framing up 1, 2, 3 months in a row. You can call it 4, but technically 3 for me is how I'm calling it. 3 months clearing very, very much so above that all-time previous high of 48.08 back from January 22. So 2 years later, we're finally up here sprinting towards new highs. And the buyers couldn't be more happy, to be honest with you. So buyers continue to be happy, pushing up towards the target that I put up here at 52.60 from. I put that there on the 13th of this year. January 13th is when I put that there. And we're probably going to hit that a lot sooner than I thought. I really wasn't expecting it to happen within the first 3 months. I'm not saying that it will, but so far, if the monthly continues doing what it does and continues to have these ranges, most likely we'll be hitting that and pushing above that well above that. I also have like an all for the year. I have my target on SPY looking at the 560 level, and then the 5600 level I think is where we're going to at least get near by the end of this year. Not saying we'll get there, but that's what I'm looking for going forward. But monthly continues the one time frame up, meaning we're setting higher highs and higher lows. Let's go ahead and look at the weekly. Look at the weekly. The weekly within the excuse me, using the monthly chart, right? Or our destinations that we've had. Look at how strong this push up has been. Very, very strong push here. We continue to one time frame up in SPY. ES, on the other hand, has just resumed one time framing up. Remember, we took out that previous week's low by about a point, but because going into the last week, we didn't know whether it was going to remain balanced or go down. So we just rather call it balance. But now we've gone from balance to one time framing up on the weekly, meaning we're setting higher highs and higher lows. So going forward this week, we will look for us to take out that 51.23.25 level. We take that out, we will continue to one time frame up. So you definitely want to see higher highs, higher lows. Once we take out a previous week's low, kind of like we did this week for taking out this week's low, once we did that, we put ourselves back into a balance. So we would have to come in pretty aggressively, take back and get back below the 5,000 level in order for us to put ourselves back into a balance on the weekly, which we don't really want to see moving forward. But you never know with these short-term traders how they're going to act. Volume for the last several weeks has not been the greatest, but we'd like to see a little bit more volume pushing up to highs. However, it is not stopping us from pushing the new highs. So volume is just one part of the equation, and price is as well. And even though we're trading up here at all-time highs above 5,000 firmly, we can continue to push up higher and higher until we stop the one-time framing down by taking out a previous week's low. And in order for us to do that, we need to do the next baby step, which would be to take out a previous day's low and stop the one-time framing up on the daily. As our weekly and our daily balance were the exact same balance. So we are one-time framing up on our daily 2 days in a row with a massive gap here below us, right? Massive gap below. We'll have to keep our eye on that level moving forward. See if we do take out Friday's low coming into this next week, right? Tomorrow we take out Friday's low. We'll come back into an initial 3-day balance, but depending on how much we take back and if we get into this gap, we'll kind of determine how large the range will be for the balance, because it will have just been forming. However, not really looking for that. We definitely want to see some consolidation above 5,100. But I think after 2 days of one time framing up, I think we might have at least another 2 in us, 1 to 2 more days, I think, of one time framing up before we have some type of pullback. So moving forward, we definitely would like to see that. And I'll point out some nuances and details of a Friday and how we closed on, why I think we continue to push up. However, short-term sellers may also be gaining some ground. But continue to one time frame up on the daily until we stop that by taking out a previous time frame's low. So we're one time framing up very, very positively there. Let's go ahead and look at our 30-minute time frame. Just briefly review what happened on Friday, mark our destinations, and then get you guys on your way. Well, and then we'll touch on my swing trade on the paper account that I took, which worked out very well. So after our big trend day up on Thursday, right, we had a big trend day up. I said on Thursday's video that we wanted to open above or open in the upper distribution, remain in it, or push higher. Well, we kind of did just that. We opened with a gap, filled the gap, took out the initial balance low, began one time framing down, and we had some pretty good extension to the downside once we got below the previous day's high and filled the gap. We got some pretty good extension in tempo, but kind of a liquidation break. And Paul in his room, he had discussed how we never really had much of a pullback the prior day. So liquidation break would most likely be the case moving forward, or at least we would need to look out for a liquidation break. And that's exactly what we had here in C and D timeframes. So in these 2 timeframes right here, C and D, we did exactly that. We had a bit of a liquidation break, which led us to pull back pretty good. But after that, we pretty much just consolidated and traded the remainder of the day basically in the upper distribution or slightly above the previous day's high. Just consolidating here, which isn't bad, right? We're trying to find acceptance above 5,100. If we do that, then we should continue to push up higher. But because it was such a decent liquidation break, we took back all the positive vibes up here where buyers were trying to push this thing higher. We had a lot of buyers get trapped up here, which caused a set of single prints to be created. So we go out with a double distribution day and a 10-wide point of control. Now, one thing we need to note is how or where the 10-wide point of control is. The 10-wide point of control is right here at 5107, right around that 5100 level. So is this an area where we have swing traders, kind of like myself, that bought, on the probe here, bought on this price probe here around the 49.90 level, bought on that price probe? Do we have some taking profits up here? I think so. I think maybe that's what we're seeing a little bit here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did come back into a balance, but I'm not looking for that, right? Because we did hold trend down. We held a very, very small set of single prints. Very small set. What is it? They start at 1275 and they fill at 1225. So 2 ticks worth of single prints. So very small set. But we never could get below the upper distribution, right? Even on this liquidation break, sellers had every opportunity to really cause some damage to the buyers and never really did. And we just kind of consolidated here. So finding acceptance up here, good consolidation in my opinion, could lead to a continuation and move higher if we find acceptance above 51. Basically where our POC was, where the point of control at 5107. So nonetheless, I think that would be moving forward, kind of the line in the sand there. If we open above 5107, we should take back this trend day down, get into the upper distribution, right? upper distributions here, even though it's a very small set of single prints. That's the upper distribution between 51.12.25 or 75 to 51.23.50. That's the upper distribution. Lower distribution is going to be, well, if I can highlight here, it's going to be here, right? It's going to be the lower distribution. Look at where we spent a lot more time in volume. We spent a lot more time in volume in the upper distribution from that day, and then in the lower distribution from the trend day down that we had just created. So this could be sellers getting out, right? We'll never really know. So sellers stepping in, getting out of their positions, right? And then more buyers stepping into this market because they've seen a great risk reward trade against, maybe against the upper distribution here at 50.90. They've seen a good risk reward trade. They're like, okay, if we hold above 50.90 and I'm long 51.07, I'm risking, a couple points to the downside. And then you don't know what the upside reward is, except for the only target on the upside, which is 51.23. So not a terrible risk reward trade there, but could result in even more on the upside, right? Moving forward. So that's kind of just what happened on Friday, more or less. I did get involved on a trade. I took a long pretty much at the gap fill, okay, because I wasn't really with the value being higher, and us opening with a gap and one time framing up on the weekly, the monthly, the daily. I was looking for us to kind of rotate back up. I was like, you know what, this might just be some inventory correction. We'll get long here, 51.07, and look to rotate back up towards the highs, 51.23. Well, that didn't quite work out. I was long a very small size, and I had the idea to add on the way down. Okay, the reason I was comfortable adding on the way down is because we had already had the overnight high in our pocket. We had value up here, so I was kind of looking more or less for the value to kind of stay above the previous day's value and us to kind of reject out of the upper distribution. I did not expect us to take out the previous, or not the previous, but the overnight low after taking out the overnight high. So I added on the way down, and this was a pretty risky trade, but I got basically full boat, about 20 lots in 2 accounts, so 40 total is what I was long. Basically an average price of 41.02 because I had a pretty decent size up here while we were consolidating the D period, and then we just kind of liquidated. I waited, added more at the bottom, and I was like thinking to myself, this market could at the very least establish a point of control at, I'm not expecting us to take back this entire day here. So I was like, they got to develop a point of control at somewhere. So I was thinking maybe we'll get back to 51.05, 75, get back there, and I would take off the trade. Well, we did get a nice little bounce. Didn't quite get up to where I was wanting, 51.07 or 51.05 initially. And I didn't know with the MGI at the time, the one-time framing down, holding single prints above, if this market was going to roll back over and I was going to get hurt on the trade. So when it came up and I was positive on the trade, I took off the entire trade for a pretty decent sized winner, about 40 points on both accounts. However, definitely could have capitalized a little bit more on it, gaining up to 51.11. Definitely could have looked for the single print fill here. However, was very happy with how I managed to trade and didn't panic sell once I seen this liquidation. I had the plan in my head, knew what the market generator information was telling me at the time. Even though I was going against the trend at the moment, did not expect us to just kind of rip lower. Now, obviously, had I gotten out at 50.91, would have taken a decent sized loss there. But thankful I was able to kind of get back into positive territory and take the contracts off where I did. Even though it didn't quite hit my target, which I initially had at 51.75, 51.0575, excuse me. Didn't quite get there, so I was happy to take it off for decent profit there. Now, as far as my swing trade goes, like I said, I got long on the price probe here. I'd seen that we had an 11 wide point of control. We had failed to go trend down. And then we had this nice pop up here. So I was like, you know what? Let's get long. We'll risk it on the downside. I've done told you guys what the trade exactly was. If you guys don't know what it was or how I took the trade, just go back and watch Wednesday's video, watch Thursday's video, and you'll know more about it. But basically, I was long 5 ES contracts on paper. Yes, it was a paper trade. I know, but you got to learn somehow, some way. So I was long 5 contracts at 59.90.75. I still have 1 contract left, and I will not take it off until we stop one time framing down on the daily. So that would mean taking out this low here at 50.92.50. So I would get out for still a very, very good profit on that last contract, but took off most of them at the highs of the previous day, right around here. Netted about $11,000 on that trade so far, and still have an open of 5,200 on that trade. So like I said, if this isn't long-term money selling up here and buyers are still comfortable above the 5,100 level, we should continue to push up higher, and will not get out of this trade until we take out a previous time frame or a previous day's low. Once we do that, I will get out of the trade. So like I said, Monday, if we come out, take out 50.92.50, I'm out of that long, and we'll reassess and look to get long again whenever the market generator information tells us to get long again. So let's go ahead and mark our destinations real quick. Mark our low of day, 92.50. What was 22? A lot of twos. All right, so there's the low of day. We have our 10 wide point of control right here at 5107.75. Do believe, right? Nope, 5107 even. Wide pot. Okay. We'll take out that high there. We got single prints that start here at 12.25. Very small set. Very, very small set. So not much to lean against there. Single print start 12.25. That set of single prints gets filled at 12.75. So like I said, 2 ticks worth of single prints. And then we have our high of day up here at 51.23.50. All right, so there you have it. So what do we want to do for buyers, right? Buyers want to open above 5107, get into the upper distribution that starts at 5112.75. Once we do that, we have nothing until the day's high, 5123.50. We take that out, we can continue to grind up higher until at least, I would say at least 5150. So if we take today's range, or Friday's range rather, and stack it above it, kind of give us an estimated move, right? So 51.54 would be kind of the area or the target on the upside if we were to get above Friday's high with any exception and tempo. So if not, if we open above 51.07, take out the day's low, we'll come back into balance, and there will be nothing but downside targets on this downside, right? Be nothing to lean against. And then you'll get into the lower distribution that starts at 50.82.75. Then you have your afternoon pullback low at 50.71.25, which will be right around where I would look to attempt a long, at least initially, because it kind of lines up with an area of support that I like. So I would probably look to at least long it once there initially, depending on how we get there and in what time frame. But if we do that on the downside, however, not really looking for that. Maybe we fail to take out today's low at 50.92. We push up to 51.07 and then try to get into that upper distribution. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you.